Yeah, something like that. February 16th, 2020. Jogger Barry McDonald was running his usual route on the coast of Ireland, near the village of Ballycotton. He'd been forced to take a break the previous day due to the strong winds and heavy rains of Windstorm Dennis. But something was different this time. A hulking 250-foot cargo ship had washed ashore, with no sign of life aboard. This boat, known as the MV Alta, was last seen 2 years prior to the South-East of Bermuda, en route from Greece to Haiti. What happened to its crew? And, more importantly, how could a vessel have sailed itself all the way from the Caribbean to Southeast Ireland? Was it salvagers? Spies? Ghosts? But first, this episode will be talking about abandoned ships. Like any abandoned structure, it can be tempting to explore these, but they can be structurally unsound. Please don't go around exploring old abandoned ships. Also, ghosts don't exist, as far as we know. And with that out of the way, let's get into it. The MV Alta is a prime example of a ghost ship, something with two very different definitions and a cultural impact big enough to make it the basis of numerous films, a television series, and about 1 million video games. The first definition is more literal, namely, a boat manned by specters such as the famous man-o'-war, the Flying Dutchman. Its crews cursed to eternally sail the sea and bring ill omens to any witnesses. But for today, we'll focus less on the mystical and more on the tangible definition. A derelict ship with no living crew. You know, like the MV Alta. Or like the Mary Celeste, one of history's most famous ghost ships. The story goes that in December of 1874, the crew of the British brigantine Dei Gratia spotted a ship drifting to the east of the Azores, a series of Portuguese islands in the Atlantic. It was the Mary Celeste, another brigantine sailing from New York City, destined to arrive in Genoa, Italy. When the sailors boarded it, they found it abandoned. One of the ship's pumps had been disassembled. Its lifeboat was missing. All but 9 barrels of its cargo of alcohol remained, and there was enough food and water stores left to last 6 months. A suspicious find for sure, which is probably why the courts investigated the Dei Gratia's crew, though no evidence of foul play was found. Between the many, many fictional accounts of the Mary Celeste's history, there are a few theories as to what actually happened. One theory, as read on the University College London news site, posits that an explosion led to the abandonment of the vessel. Dr. Andrea Sala, a professor of chemistry at UCL, built a replica of the vessel's hold and created a simulated alcohol leak, then lit it ablaze. The resulting explosion sent up a ball of fire, more than enough to blow open the hatches and scare the crew into abandoning the ship, but importantly, did not burn anything, leaving the simulation in a relatively pristine state otherwise. However, the boarding party did not record smelling any fumes and recorded the main hatch was secure. Another theory, as put forward by documentarian Anne McGregor, is that the Mary Celeste's chronometer, a device that lets ships determine position, was faulty, leaving the ship's timeline off. It also faced poor weather conditions. So while these factors alone wouldn't be cause to abandon ship, McGregor also learned that the Mary Celeste's previous cargo had included coal, and the ship had undergone extensive repairs. McGregor's theory is that coal and construction dust had clogged the pumps, hence why one was found disassembled. Without pumps, the captain couldn't tell how much water was in the hull, and facing heavy weather, the captain may have taken his chance at landing on the Azores and called to abandon ship. The crew was never found, and the Mary Celeste passed between a string of owners until it was loaded with worthless cargo to be deliberately wrecked as part of an insurance fraud ploy on January 3, 1885. But, as this happened more than 100 years ago, finding new evidence is difficult. There are many other ghost ships without as much fame, such as the Seabird. It was reported to have beached itself on the coast of Rhode Island with no crew on board, and was said to have disappeared once its cargo was unloaded. Or, maybe it was sold to a local merchant who changed the name. Oh, but what fun is that? Today we have things like GPS and steel-hulled boats. So, ghost ships must be a relic of a bygone age where sailors thought that at any moment their ship may be torn asunder by the dreaded Kraken. Not something that happens to modern vessels like the MV Alta, right? Well, not exactly. Ghost ships are still common enough, it's just that these days there isn't as much mystery behind them. After all, there are a lot of bad things that can happen at sea, surrounded by water on all sides. For example, Korean ghost ships. For at least the last decade, dozens of boats have been washing up on the coast of Japan. Korean lettering on the sides of the vessels has led the Japanese Coast Guard to believe that the ships drifted from waters around the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, colloquially known as the Hermit Kingdom. In their reported statistics, 57 boats were found in 2011, 47 in 2012, 80 in 2013, and 65 in 2014. But that number has increased in recent years. The first peak was in 2017 with 104 vessels found, a figure which doubled in 2018. The Nikkei Asian Review reported 99 boats washed ashore by December of 2019, and at least 156 boats were found by the end of 2019, according to the Japan Times. So, what's happening? Some suspect spies or defectors. What do you think?
Oh! Staple abductions!
No, but close.
Thanks, wait, really?
One theory is that the ships are being used to reestablish an abduction program of Japanese citizens. Now, this gets a bit dark, so if you want to put some cream in your coffee, I'll forgive you. This time. Speaking to Undercover Asia, Kazuhiro Araki, CEO of the Abduction Research Organization, described how Hermit Kingdom ran an operation to abduct Japanese citizens to fill gaps in skilled labor, which peaked in the 1970s and 80s. The fear is that these ships washed up on shore, some with military uniforms around them, may be used by spies seeking to infiltrate the country and kidnap citizens. However, the size and condition of the boats and their crew suggests a different story.
Yeah, I don't like where this is going.
I'm sorry, but many of these ships are small wooden fishing boats that aren't exactly abandoned, often containing the remains of their crews. According to Jiro Ishimaru, an investigative journalist specializing in the DPRK, a Hermit Kingdom fishing company reports that Zhongqin, one of the country's 4 largest cities, is known as Widow's Town because of the number of fishermen who go missing at sea and never return alive. Malnutrition is common within Hermit Kingdom, according to Business Insider, and the South China Morning Post has reported that government mandates for bigger fish catches have led to fishermen traveling further and further afield, taking larger risks to bring in larger hauls. And the increase in ghost ship sightings came in 2017 after a series of sanctions was issued to Hermit Kingdom, including restrictions on coal and oil trade from China, which leads to the conclusion that these ghost ships are the result of desperate fishermen taking risks that their ships just aren't equipped to handle, ending in tragedy for many and leaving the boats to wash ashore. But that's the Sea of Japan, a sea contained by Japan and the Korean Peninsula. The MV Alta's route from Haiti to Ireland is more open and a much larger distance, around 5,005 kilometers compared to 1,043 kilometers. A lot bigger. Besides, the MV Alta is a significantly larger and sturdier boat than the fishing ships washing up in Japan. So, what happened? Well, in this case, we have some solid info that helps us recount the tale of this spectral journey. The Alta was built in 1976 and operated in well-traveled waters in an age of high communication. September 2018, the Alta was en route to Haiti from Greece when the ship became disabled. According to the Gloucester Times, the crew of 10 found themselves unable to make repairs and were stranded about 1,380 miles to the southeast of Bermuda. They drifted for 3 weeks, rationing their food stores with more supplied by a Coast Guard helicopter, before they were rescued by the U.S. Coast Guard on September 30th, 2018. Oh, and this all happened while a hurricane was bearing down on them, just in case we needed bigger stakes. Between 2018 and 2020, the U.S. Coast Guard had arranged to tow the Alta to Guyana, but it was apparently hijacked once or twice en route, according to the Irish Post. The next time the Alta was spotted was in the mid-Atlantic by the British Royal Navy ice patrol ship, the HMS Protector, according to The Independent. Also, the HMS Protector's Twitter. Oh yeah, look at that superstructure. 2 days ago, HMS Protector discovered this apparently abandoned merchant vessel whilst mid-Atlantic. We closed the vessel to make contact and offer our assistance, but no one replied. Whilst investigations continue, we're unable to give you more detail on this strange event. Freely drifting, the Alta had apparently moved north near the coast of Africa, past the Iberian Peninsula, and into the Celtic Sea before it was finally caught by Storm Dennis and delivered to the coast of Ireland, somehow avoiding detection on the way. Or, in the words of Ballycotton RNLI Lifeboat Operations Manager John Tatton, "This is one in a million. It has come all the way up from the African coast, west of the Spanish coast, west of the English coast, and up to the Irish coast. I have never, ever seen anything abandoned like that before." And so ends the long, unmanned journey of the MV Alta. The owners have since reached out to the Irish government and are currently in discussions on how to handle the wreck. But the MV Alta isn't alone in terms of modern-day ghost ships. And these vessels can pose a serious hazard when left to drift in shipping lanes. They can threaten not only other ships, but also offshore oil rigs. But at the end of the day, at least we don't have to worry about any malevolent spectral ships. Just maybe don't go exploring any. Those things probably aren't structurally sound.
What? No pun?
No. Did you watch the tetanus episode? This is a serious matter. Besides, ship happens.
Should have seen that coming.